Alright, so factoring part 2. Today we're going to factor trinomials. Alright, so basically we are going to build upon factoring by grouping that we learned. Okay, so we're going to build upon that knowledge. Alright, so we have a set practice that we do when we factor trinomials. So let's write down our steps on the back, okay? So factoring trinomials, and tri means 3. So anytime we have an expression that has 3 terms, it's called a trinomial, and you're going to follow these steps. All right, so trinomials are written in a standard format, all right? Ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are integers or numbers, okay? A, b, and c are integers. They're always numbers, all right? And x just symbolizes your variables, all right? The variable isn't always x. That just symbolizes whatever variable you may have within your expression. All right, step 1. All right, step 1. All right, step 1. We are going to find the product. And what kind of math is product? Well, it's multiplication. So we're going to find the product of A, C. So you're going to take your A and multiply it by your C. All right? So A times C. All right? And step 2. We're going to take that product, okay? And we're going to factor that product of AC. All right, and so we're going to have 2 factors, and those 2 factors must add up to or become the sum of B. All right. So we will practice this a lot, and I will reference back to it as we go through, so it becomes like second nature. All right, so we're going to take those 2 factors. Okay, so we've taken A and C. We've multiplied them together. All right, and we've gotten a term, and we have to factor that term. We factor the product of A and C to find the sum of B. All right, so we have those 2 factors. Oh. I grabbed a new red pen, okay? So we're going to take those 2 factors and we are going to make them M and P, okay? And we're going to do this strategically so that way we can factor out, when we get to our final step, the largest things possible, the most possible, okay? So we're going to group them strategically, and when we're going through our examples, we'll talk more about that. And then our original equation gets expanded a little. Our first term stays the same. What we are expanding out is the bx. So it's going to become mx plus px, all right? And when you add mx and px together, you'll get your bx, hence the sum of b. And your c term stays the same. All right, so once you have these 4 terms, all right, then we can hit what we learned in 9-5, where we factor by grouping. All right, Now, we did these notes over the course of 2 days in class, okay? So day 1, we did 3 examples, and then day 2, we did 3 examples, all right? So I'm going to do all 6 of them now, but I'll do them in the same order that I did them in class, okay? So that means we're going to skip around just a little, all right? So I am going to draw some lines just to differentiate and give us some clear workspace. All right, there we go. All right, so we're going to do this one first. All right, so 4x squared minus 13x plus 10. Now, so it is written like this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to label A, B, and C. Okay, so A, B, and C. So our A is 4, B is minus 13, okay? The negative sign always goes with the number behind it. They are together, so negative 13, and then C is 10, okay? So we're going to first find the product of C, and then we're going to factor the product of C to the sum of B. So let's see how that works. So we have A times C, well, 4 times 10 is 40. So we are going to factor 40. And our two factors must equal B, which is negative 13. All right, so we're going to think about our factors of 40. So you got 40. Let me see, there's always 1 in 40. There is 2 and 20. 4 and 10. Let me see, 5 and 8. And I'm pretty sure, let me see, 6, 7, nope. And then I loop back through, so I am there. All right. So these are my factors of 40. Okay. Now we're trying to find two factors that when you add them together, you get to negative 13. Okay. But must multiply to get positive 40. Well, there's no combination of 1 and 40 to get to 13. Nope. That would be 14. Ooh, 8 and 5, you add those together, get to 13. But we got to get to negative 13. You got to multiply to get to a positive 40. Well, if I multiply negative 5 times a negative 8, negative times a negative would give me a positive. And negative 5 plus negative 8 is negative 13. So we're going to have negative 5 and negative 8. Those are my two factors, all right? So we are going to split up my B. All right. So my first term stays the same, okay? 4x squared. Now I'm going to strategically place these so that way if the opportunity arises, I can factor out not just variable, but a number as well. So I'm 8 and 4, well, they have common multiples, so minus 8x minus 5x plus 10. So we took that minus 13x and we just split it up, okay? So we found the product of AC. We factored the product of AC to find the sum of B. Those two factors became my M and P, and I strategically placed them so that way I can factor the most out of them. And now my final step is factor by grouping. Well, we factored by grouping in 9-5, so we have some practice with this. All right, so I have group 1, I have group 2, add them together. All right. So my first group, well, they have a 4 in common and an x in common. So I can factor out 4x. Well, if I factor out a 4x, what's that leave in my first term? Well, x. If I factor out 4x, what's that leave in my second term? Well, let me see. 4x times what gets me to minus 8x? Well, minus 2. Okay. Now, we're trying to have x minus 2 left over. So we are going to try to have x minus 2 left over. Well, what can I pull out of minus 5x plus 10 to have x minus 2 left over? Well, I started with a positive, and I want to end with a negative. Well, negative times a negative would give me a positive. And I can factor out 5, so negative 5. And if I factor out negative 5 from negative 5x, that leaves x. If I factor out negative 5 from a positive 10, well, 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. What it does when you factor out the negative 5 instead of a positive 5, you don't get the inverse additive step. So we're saving a step. So what were we able to factor out? Well, my first group, 4x. Out of my second group, minus 5. And what do we have a match set of? X minus 2. All right, we factored our first trinomial. All right, so I am going to do this one here next. All right. Now, first thing we notice about this one here is it is not in standard form, all right? The variable with the highest exponent is in the middle, and we need to write it in standard form in order to properly factor it. So we're going to go x squared first, plus 10x, plus 24. All right, now that it's in standard form. Now, we can do A, B, C. Well, if you'll notice, there's no integer in front of x squared, okay? And I said on the back that A, B, and C are integers or numbers. So A, just sometimes, can be that invisible 1, all right? Because it has to be an integer. And how many x squares do you have? Well, we have 1x squared, all right? B is 10. C is 24. So what we are trying to do, let me see, A times C is 24, so we need to factor 24 so that our two factors add together and equal to 10. All right, let's think of our factors of 24. Let me see, 24, well, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay, those are my factors. Let me see, we're trying to add to get to 10. That won't work. That's a possibility, but we would have to make one negative and one positive, and that doesn't work in this scenario. No. Let's see. 4 plus 6. Well, 4 times 6 is 24, and 4 plus 6 is 10. There we go. 4 and 6. All right. So let's expand the middle term with our factors 4 and 6. So x squared we keep, plus 4x, plus 6x we expanded, and then we keep our c term. All right, now let's factor by grouping. First group, second group. First group, I can pull out an x. My first term is left with an x. My second term is left with a 4. My second group, we have got, what do we have in common? Well, we have a 6. We're left with x, and we're left with 4. These are alike, and we have x plus 6 and x plus 4. Now, when you have a as 1, it actually, you don't have to be strategic about the 4 or the 6 because either way, you will end up with the same factoring. X minus 4 just may come before x plus 6, and that's perfectly fine. They mean exactly the same thing. So it's okay if x plus 4 is first and x plus 6 is second. All right? So I did that one, and then the next one I did was this one here in class. So let's do this one here. Okay. So A, B, and C. A is negative 4, B is negative 15, and C is negative 14. All right, so we're going to multiply A times C together, and that means we have to factor. What do we have to factor? 56. Okay, we have to factor 56. And our two factors must equal a negative 15. All right. So we have got 56. Let's see. 1 and 56. 2 and what? 20. 28? Yeah. Let me see. Does 3 go into it? No. Does 4 go into it? Let me see. 4. That'll go in once. Carry the 1, 4. All right. And then 5, no. 6, no. 7, no. Well, yeah, 7. 7 times 8. All right. So let's see. We're trying to multiply to get to a positive 56, and we're trying to add to get to a negative 15. Okay. Well, let's see. That does not fit both. Can't make that fit both. Nope, can't make that fit both. 7 and 8. Well, 7 times 8 does get me 56, but we want to add them together to get to a negative 15. Well, 7 and 8 are 15, and if we make both of them negative, when we add them together, we can get to negative 15. All right, that'll work. So negative 7, negative 8. Okay. So again, we keep our first term, minus 4x squared. We are going to break apart this with our factors. I'm going to lead off with negative 8x first, and then minus 7x, and we keep our c, minus 14. I strategically group them because that way I can take out an integer and a variable, and I have an integer I can take out of this one. This makes my life easier. Okay. A little plus here. All right. So out of a negative 4x squared minus 8x, we can factor out minus 4x. If I factor out minus 4x, it leaves x, and it leaves minus 2. All right. We want to end the same with x minus 2. Well, in order to get x minus 2, I have to factor out just the what? Well, wait, no, because negative times negative is positive, so that would leave a positive 2. Ah, okay. That would leave positive 2, so I need to factor out the negative 7. That makes sense. Because remember, the opposite of factoring is distributing, so negative 7 times x is negative 7x, negative 7 times positive 2 is negative 14. Okay, now they're the same. So I factored out minus 4x, minus 7. And I had a match set of x plus 2. Normally, if you make mistakes, it is with signs, and that has been a lot of the mistakes that I have been seeing is sign errors. Okay, so just be very mindful of it, and remember, like if you want to check this to see if it goes back here, you can check it using the FOIL method. All right, so that was what we did the first day. And then the second day, because we did it at the end of class after we spent 20 minutes working on 9.5, so the next day we came back and we finished this. So let's finish it. So actually, I think I'll make a part 2. So because I had some people who were able to get this. So this is the end of part 1. We did this on Tuesday. So I'm going to do a second part to this video, and we'll do the notes that are just for Wednesday.